The main sort of goals to try and keep it all the money that you donate, it's not sort of being absorbed by admin costs in Australia. It's all going straight to the ground over in Africa where we need the help.
And that's fantastic, because you kind of look at these guys in the shops, or you look at these ads, and you think to yourself, well, as you stated before, I can pay X amount for a fortnight for the rest of my life, or the rest of my working career, and I'm not going to pay your commission for the day, you know what I mean? Or the commission for the week, or what you've just paid to be on Channel 10 primetime. So that's fantastic. So we're going to come into white privilege to get you guys all arced up to donate, and then we're going to come back with some more questions for you guys. And if you guys have any questions for Will directly, can you call us in on 96412422. It is 9:05, 40% humidity, 26.9 degrees. Alright, let's smash it. Are you amped up as I am to hear this new track?
Loving a bit of Macklemore, mate. Let's do it.
Let's do it. How's it going, guys? You're back on the air on 101.3 FM. Now, I'm still here with my mate Will Bloxham, talking about his charity. And this is a really important one. So how long have you been doing this for, man?
Basically the first trip started in 2011. I just had a moment where I sort of felt really, I'd always wanted to start one of these projects and make a difference and create some action on the ground, but then I sort of felt motivated to actually do it. And then I somehow just randomly stumbled across this country, Burundi, that I'll be honest, I'd never actually heard of it before, and it's situated directly below Rwanda in the heart of Africa there, and they went through a similar style of genocide really when back during the same time Rwanda went through it. And it's about 10 million people, and I didn't even know this index exists, but they're actually the hungriest country in the world, and for some reason I just felt that I had to go there. So I went over there in late 2011 and bussed over to Burundi, and it was quite a bizarre experience. I sort of got there and was just like, I'm here, what's sort of next? And then I managed to, at the border, bump into this local school teacher who had some sort of similar ambitions, and so I spent a few days there and we talked, and slowly I sort of found that maybe I'll go home, save the cash, and then come back and get it going. So then that led to 2013. The start of 2013, I went over to Burundi the first time, and this is where I met Poncien, who's actually the man who runs all of our projects on the ground, and he's got a very interesting history, and I encourage people, I'll put all the info on the Facebook page, but anytime you want to contact him, Skype him, talk to him, he's a very intelligent man, and he comes from sort of an elite Hutu family, I guess, and so his family was quite targeted in the previous wars, and quite a few of his brothers were murdered, and he's had a pretty tough life. And just to see his positivity, in all these projects, I guess was really inspiring. So he was working with us.
Yeah.
And then basically we just started. We decided, we went around and interviewed all the kids throughout the village to try and find what the most need was. We rented a house. We got some furniture made locally. We employed some local staff, and then that led to opening of the first Amahoro home with 11 orphan kids.
Wow. Well, that's really amazing, and it was really inspiring when you've met somebody who's done it so tough, and you think to yourself, man, if I was living in your situation, I would have the biggest chip on my shoulder. I wouldn't be walking around, chipper and smiling and stuff like that. No, I completely understand that, and we've talked about this before personally, but what have been some of your biggest setbacks so far?
Well, I guess just the setback. There was quite a big setback because we started to develop. I went home and we continued to fund the project, and from there things went really well. We opened the first pre-primary in the region. We opened the first trade school in the area, so we were running sewing classes for sort of young women that had missed education. And we were running lots of community outreach programs, teaching them about computing and educating them on health and those sorts of things. We ran a big workshop with all the local leaders with the street children, so we actually reunited quite a few of the street kids back with their families and got them back into school, which was pretty cool. And so these things were all starting to flow and everything was starting to come together, and then a political crisis broke out. The president basically went for a further term than he was allowed to, and this led to protests and riots, and we were actually asked to sort of essentially join with the government, and because we wanted to remain sort of completely separate from all that, we were targeted by the militia, and we actually had our staff were threatened, and some were arrested. We had a lot of our equipment stolen. It got pretty
Yes.
hectic and pretty dangerous. So yeah, that led to us having to leave the country. So we took all the kids we could at that time, and we moved to Kenya to seek asylum in Nairobi.
Yeah, and just because a lot of people just don't know about this sort of thing, what have been the biggest sort of like examples of human rights, just basic human rights, like stuff we take for granted, just not being upheld over there? Like
Yeah,
stuff
sure.
you've just seen and been like, what, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was when this broke out. The first thing, and I guess the most pivotal thing, is the all of the local media was basically removed. So all the radio stations, television were closed down. So there was no access to any sort of media. That was sort of initially what got us into a bit of trouble, because we had access to some internet, and so we were sort of sharing information with the people about what was truly going, and that led to us being a little bit more targeted. But yeah, that was the biggest thing, the complete loss of the voice of the people. And you know, there was a lot of people peacefully protesting, or attempting to peacefully protest, and I guess the violence just continued to escalate and escalate, and the government just sort of tried to pretend that none of it was really happening, I guess.
Wow, that is truly just terrifying that that sort of thing is still happening today in, like, you know, 2015, 2014, you know. So how would people go about donating and just trying to help out your cause? Because at the moment it's pretty much been funded by oneself, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was sort of, yeah, I've had to cover a fair bit of the cost, maybe, or a little bit of help from some people, some family and friends, but this is the sort of first time we've actually started to ask for donations. There is quite a process, you know, with, you know, all of our accounts have to be audited by the government, so it was a process to work with the local people on the ground to get all the finances, so that everything was transparent and accountable, and that it was a real honest system of managing the money. And now that we've got that, basically, yeah, if people do want to join, if they go to our Facebook page, so if they just search for Amahoro Inc on Facebook, which is AMAHORO Inc, they'll find the access. You know, they can send money, transfer to the Amahoro Inc bank account if they feel so inclined, or, you know, even just if they want to give me a call or an email, or I'll have Poncien's email and numbers over there, and he's in Kenya at the moment. Just, you know, if people just want to engage and learn a bit more, and you know, you can, with all of these things, you know, you can offer your ideas, you can offer your time, you can offer your money, and there's many ways to help as well. Do you know?
Yeah,
If you haven't got the finances.
That's completely right. 'Cause you don't actually have to offer your money to someone just to help them. You know,
Sure, yeah.
I'm sure you guys have plenty of things that can be done even over here.
Yeah.
That would help a great amount.
Yeah.
So I've actually got a little track that you provided me here.
Yeah, mate.
Amahoro by Gabby.
Amahoro by Gabby, yeah. I figured it was fitting. It's sung in Kenya Rwanda, which is the Rwandan language, but it's very, very similar to Kirundi, the Burundian language. And yeah, it's quite a cool track. Bit of a funky little rap at the end there that breaks out. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
No worries. Well, we're going to play this, and we're going to come in with a couple more questions for good old Willie.
Problems, I guess. There's this two of our kids that came in were Sandy and Shemaya. They were two sisters that had lost both of their parents, and basically had no one to care for them. They came to us, and Sandy, when she arrived, she thought she was 9 and her sister was 4. Turned out she was actually about 15, and
Wow.
and neither of these kids had ever been to school, couldn't read or write, and were pretty severely malnourished. And yeah, just in the short time they were with us, they both learned how to read and write. And progressed along really well and became really quite healthy. But then, sadly, in the time when all the violence broke out, basically because it was so hectic in the village, those kids couldn't actually come with us initially. So there's still actually 4 of our kids are still left in Burundi. So
Wow.
yeah, that's probably our first project initially, is to try and, you know, get some support and get those 4 kids out of there. Still, one of the kids is actually missing. We can't find him. A young little guy called Silas, who is a legend. He was only about 4 when he came to us. He was the smallest kid that we had, and he was amazing. He'd lost both his parents as well, and he was such a tiny little guy. And he ended up calling himself Mutama. He changed his name to Mutama, which in the Kirundi language means wise old man. And he was a wise old man. This little dude. He was a really special guy. So yeah, the big plan is find him and bring him across. But just, you know, I guess, you know, with this change, having to move to Nairobi, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. One of the great things that we've achieved by being there is the kids have all moved into a French-speaking school. So in Burundi, French is the official language, and, you know, a bit of a hangover from the colonial days. So when they moved to Nairobi, there wasn't a Kirundi school, so they had to go to a French-speaking school, and most of these kids couldn't speak much French. So for the first couple of months, they were really battling to keep up with the school. But now, you know, even it's only a few months later, they're young, they learn quickly, so they're all relatively fluent in French. And all the staff that came with us have since, we've been able to put them into some daily sort of courses, and so they've all learned English. So virtually everyone that's there will go home with a fresh language, which is going to really hold them in good stead. Luckily, Poncien, our chairperson over there, he speaks Kirundi, French, Swahili, and English, so he covers
Wow.
he covers all the languages. But yeah, you know, in that part of the world, it's a real asset to have an extra language. So to bring just the quality of the education that we've given these kids, I guess, is the greatest thing, and that's sort of really what we're all about, is about educating these people to create the next leaders, and the people that can actually resolve their issues within their countries themselves with their own minds, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to talk about just kind of, so your short-term goals would kind of be to find these kids and stuff like that.
Yeah, short term, mate, is to find these 4 kids and bring them out, continue to develop what we've got there. Once we start to reach a surplus on top of our basic costs for rent and school fees and the food and the healthcare, then we'll start to, I guess, do a little bit of outreach within Nairobi, and then start to assist. Probably particularly, there's a lot of Burundi, and there's about 330,000 refugees.
Wow.
From Burundi, and it's quite hard. So we all registered with the UN in Nairobi and got an asylum status, but the process then is it takes 2 years before you're actually given an interview for refugee status, and in that time you can't work, you can't open a bank account, and the only option that they'll offer you is to help you by taking you to the refugee camp, which is out in the desert in Nairobi, and there's not a lot of education. It sort of remains quite stagnant, so we're trying to stay there, and then ultimately I believe this year the violence in Burundi will finish, and then we'll go straight back to where we were in rural Burundi, and reopen our learning centre and continue to just push that and advance that towards a point where we can become a real sort of beacon within the area for people to come and learn, and try and make it sustainable, ultimately, so that these things don't rely on donations forever.
Yeah.
That they use the people within the country that can afford to pay their school fees can come in and pay, and the disadvantaged, we can sort of support those people.
Yeah. And you were talking about it before, people get angry about asylum seekers coming over here and stuff like that, but if we actually spent the money to make their country better, like, they don't want to move over here.
Yeah, I think ultimately everyone wants to stay in their home country, and I think that's a pretty organic way to live. So yeah, try and help these people at home and help them build a place where they want to be and they feel safe,
Yeah, because the biggest thing at the moment is they are actually coming over to other places because they're not safe.
Yeah.
There is no work, there is no food, and there is very little to hope for. And building schools and teaching them how to do things, proper things, not just be marketed by Nestle to find the cocoa and stuff like that, is fantastic.
Yeah, and and particularly in Burundi, it is sort of one of the least globalized country, and its main sort of export is coffee, and it's had a pretty tough time with all that. So there's lots of opportunities for lots of industry to go in there and sort of ethically create business that's going to be good for both the people within that country and and outside.
Yeah. So what other kind of costs would you need to be covering, like, just so people have an idea of what sort of their money would be going towards?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of at this point, because we're not actually running our own education centre, the costs are, it's similar to what every family sort of faces, really. It's the rent and electricity, the water bills. Luckily, in the house we're in Nairobi, it's got running water and electricity, which is the first time any of these kids have had that, which is pretty cool. And so and then the food costs for feeding all the kids. There's some transport costs. There's still quite a lot of healthcare. Malaria is pretty common, and there is quite a lot more illness than we get over here. So that's sort of a pretty ongoing budget as part of it as well. So yeah, the monthly costs do sort of add up, mate.
Yeah, and you don't think about that when you're kind of over here, because people over here, just use their Medicare.
Yeah. The free healthcare over there doesn't really exist, mate. So if you don't have the coin,
Now
don't get there.
I'm going to probably mispronounce this next one. But Mambo Sasawara?
Mambo Sawasawa.
Ah!
So, Sawasawa is a Swahili word. And it means basically like good, you know, or things are good, things are cool. Mambo means like things, so this song's about, yeah, things are good. But it is about a 9-minute burner, mate, so we'll see how we go with
Yeah,
that.
let's burn it for 9.
Yeah, we cranked this at a bit of a party we had, a bit of an opening party we had back in Cabero, and yeah, jump up, get a conga line going and get into it.
Man, and that's good advice for you guys at home as well. Even if you're by yourself, grab the dog, grab the cat, grab the tea kettle. Alright.
A couple of American guys that are doing some great projects. They're working with some local craftsmen that are making these really cool shoes out of the really bright African fabrics, and then they're actually selling them in New York and in American markets, and have sort of worked out a really good mix of ways that they're still actually generating profit, but then using a vast majority of the money to actually assist these projects. So they're creating sort of sustainable projects that aren't just charities, they're actually, you know, economic ventures together to bring these projects, you know, to create the goals. And they within Kibera, which is the biggest slum in Nairobi, you know, there's some great projects going there. There's people opening music studios and dance studios, and one other really cool thing we saw was an actress from America actually opened just a facility that provides showers that people can go and use for a nominal fee, and washing machines. And so because they don't have these facilities at home, just allowing them to have access to them close to their home allows them to, you know, start to live a more normal life and slowly, you know, bring up the quality of their lives.
Yeah, because that would be a massively, you know, I guess, dehumanizing, not being able to just basically wash yourself. And with the other thing, you know, that's just fantastic. Not only does it help the community out by giving back to it, but it gives them a skill, essentially, and the feeling of empowerment, you know, a reason to get up in the morning, you know, and a reason to put a smile on their faces, you know what I mean?
Sure, yeah, it's, I guess, you know, you can get a bit negative about it, and just to touch on a couple of more positive things, you know, like in Burundi, you know, there's so many aspects of their culture that you see are really positive, you know, their sense of community is so strong, and their landscapes are beautiful. They've got a really great sense of music and fun. You know, if you ever get a chance, Google Burundian drummers. They do this, it's really their heart and soul. They love drumming. They have these giant big drums that they carry around on their head, and they do all sorts of acrobats and dancing. They use it to tell their stories. I've got a short film that I made about my last project, and anyone who's seen it will see the end, me sort of dancing like a bit of a clown at the end of these drummers. But yeah, check these drummers out. They're really incredible. They really showcase, you know, what sort of skills these people have, and how, you know, how much they deserve a bit of a chance to really show how much they've got to offer.
That sounds really cool, man. Is there anything else you want to go over with your recent trip?
I think that's about it, mate. I've probably banged on enough, I'd say.
Yeah. Alright. You might just go how to donate one more time, and I'm going to let you take care of this because I will mispronounce Amahoro.
Sure, mate. So, it's Amahoro Inc. So if you just go to, just put that in the search on Facebook, you'll find the Amahoro Inc. page. So there's a link to the short film you can look at, which gives you a little bit more of an insight to the initial, you know, when we started the project. And on there's the bank account details if you want to transfer money, or if you want to contact myself, or as I said, contact Poncian. He'd love you to contact him. And you know, if anybody is going to Africa shortly and wants to go and visit him, he'd love to come and see you, and he'd probably come and meet you anywhere in Kenya. So please, get in touch with us. And I just want to sort of start a conversation. And I guess at the end of the day, this whole project, it's not really so much about Burundi or Africa. It's, you know, if you can't help out with us, you know, just try and find some other way you can help out around your communities, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. At the end of the day, your goal is to make the world a better place.
Yeah, that's it. And Sawa.
Yeah, that's it, man. Well, thanks for coming in, man. You're an absolute legend. And I might close this off with something you picked out, brought over to me on a USB.
Oh, dude, I know it's a bit of cheese, but Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror, it's a bit of a classic, mate. So I thought it's a bit of a nice way to finish. And just thanks, Nick. Thanks for having me on.
No
mate.
worries,
and thanks
man.
everyone for listening, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday night.
Never worry about too much cheese, man. It goes good with Vegemite, it goes good with pasta.
That's it. Slight little cracker.
Yeah, man. That's it, man.
All right.